People need an income that's guaranteed to them.
If you lose money to taxes, you never get that money back.
You need to get serious about adding some lower risk.
Greed. I don't like greed.
The thing to be afraid of, honestly, is the thing that we're not thinking of, the black swan event.
There's a tsunami coming. Bye.
Welcome to Retirement Coffee Talk with Charisse Rivers.
Just coffee talk.
There's a lot of noise, a lot of chatter. Who do you listen to? Who do you not listen to? You have to stay focused.
A fun and informative look at the issues of wealth, retirement, and protecting your life savings.
These advisors out there that were trained to sell, and have all these fees. They don't want to talk about this product, so they make less money.
And now, Retirement Coffee Talk with Charisse Rivers.
Hello again and welcome to Retirement Coffee Talk with Charisse Rivers at Zinnia Wealth. Online, you can find us at zinniawealth.com, ZINNIA wealth.com. And we hope that you do, because if it's time to talk about your retirement, we are here to listen, we are here to help, and we'll tell you how coming up as we move our way through the show. Charisse, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm good. You?
I'm good. This is an interesting time in your life, because we were just talking before the show that you've got a big soccer tournament coming up with Ella. And this is where, every now and then I say, okay, so Charisse, this week, Ella's all involved in church. And then this week she's all involved in soccer. And then this week she's all involved in this and that. It's a fun time for your kid, but it can be a little bit of a brain scramble for an adult, can't it?
Slightly. So Ella, we lost the game, and I didn't know how she would have taken it. And she seemed to be okay. And that night, after I put my son to bed, I went in her room to help her with a project. And she just didn't want to talk to me. She didn't want to do the project. And then she's like, Mom, I just need time to myself. And then she got really grumpy. I mean, this is 9:30 at night, 9:45. And literally I said, what is going on? And she's like, I just want my space. And I'm like, wait a minute. You're not allowed to talk to me like that. I'm like, sit down. I'm your mom. You got to talk to me about stuff like this. So she finally sat down. She's like, I should have blocked that ball as a goalie. And I went, this is her first, one of her losses.
Okay.
And she's been winning so much, and she's so competitive.
Yeah.
And I went, all right, let's just sit down. She's like, I don't want to sit down. And then, then I'm like, I tickle her back. I know that it's a winner for me. And then I laid there with her and it's like, let's just relax. And like 20 minutes later, she was still upset. And I went, maybe it's time for brownies and ice cream. And she looked at me and she went, really? Because I don't do that, right? Like she's probably expected me to react totally different. So we went and had brownies and ice cream at 10:30 at night. And it worked out. And I said, it's okay to lose, right? We just get, to succeed, you're going to learn from that. You got to handle the wins and the losses. And so that was my week.
There you go. See,
coaching up mom, coaching up retarees.
I have a bumper sticker, and it is ice cream makes everything better. So
ice cream and brownies.
All right.
So fun. And it's like me coaching up retirees, right? They're coming in, they're brand new, they're crying because they're not happy. They lost with his other advisors. They can't understand why their fees are so high. And I'm coaching them like, there's just a couple things we got to do. You've had some losses, but hey, moving forward, we're going to do this, that, and this, and we're going to lower fees, and the losses are going to be more minimal. And it's just, it's coaching people along the way so that in the future, we have a little less failure, right? Yeah. And there's more consistency. So I guess that's how we can relate it back to retirement planning.
And chocolate doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt because you get some chocolate chip cookies in the office and such as well. So
good point. You walk out happy no matter what.
Okay.
Double dose.
That is why we are here, to help you with your retirement. And that's what we talk about as we move our way through the show. So the thing is that, as Charisse says, whatever person you have that is going to help you, you've got to make sure that person knows what they're doing. And the proof is really literally in the pudding. And there was a columnist from Bloomberg that went to some kind of a financial advisor gathering, and she started interviewing people. And she came away with, you guys don't know what you're doing. And she said, there are so many things that a financial advisor has to do and provide answers with, and they fail in so many categories. And she came up with the top three. People have no idea how much money they need to retire. She said that life expectancy hasn't really changed in the last couple of years, yet in the last 4 years, the amount of money that people think they need for retirement has gone up 50%. And the confidence level of people in retirement right now is absolutely plummeting. So, Charisse, what is the problem here? How are advisors failing their customers, and what can we do about it?
I can't necessarily blame the advisors. Advisors are just taught a certain way. There's things in the textbook that we learn that we don't learn in the real world. And if we do start to learn them in the real world, we don't know how to answer them or come up with solutions. So we just kind of do the old school approach, stock jock 60-40. You can take your 4%, say la vie, and that's that. And really that's just an old school stock jock philosophy. But the stock jocks are very valuable. They really help during the accumulation phase. But then we get into this decumulation phase where now we're living on our money, and it's a big game changer. And I noticed this early on in the industry, and I went, okay, there's more to it than just me putting people here and doing this with them. Like, I literally have to come up with a written plan. I have to find software that's going to help explain what the people's that are getting ready to retire, or if you are in retirement, the needs to make sure those dollars are arriving at the front door, in your bank accounts, wherever you're collecting your incomes, and they're sustainable and they're inflation adjustable. And there was nothing under the sun when it comes to software that made it so simple for somebody to understand. So what I did is I just rejiggered a software that was out there that nobody liked, and it worked out well. And we have brought simplicity to the plan, truly, because when people walk out, they're like, I understand that. Wow, that was easy. And somebody just came in, they said, oh my gosh, they interviewed 18 advisors.
18?
18 between Ocala and the villages. And they're like, you know what, Charisse?
Wow.
18. And you know what? They literally, I just heard this. I literally just was hanging out with this guy. He was really interesting. I really liked him, actually. And he says, you do things different. You are not like the other 18. He's like, okay. He's like, maybe I found a home. Now, let me let you know, we're only on the first appointment. He's coming back in for the second.
Okay.
But he said, this is different. This is a different feel. And so that's important to me. I love hearing that kind of stuff because that means we are on track. The holistic planning and the written plans and the things we build in our software and our creativity for tax management and investment planning and income planning, it is working. People are happy. It is something different that nobody else is doing.
Well, one of the things that I think of here, Charisse, is the fact that I think this whole story would change if it were all about pensions. If we had pensions and we could walk into retirement and know exactly what our paycheck is going to be, I think that calms everything down.
It does, Randy.
But we have a 401k now, and it doesn't do that.
No. So the 401k makes you your own pension manager. And I'm going to tell you, there's two households who come into my office. There's the person who has some savings and they have a pension, and there's some people who just have the savings, right? Coupled with Social Security. And the person who has the pension, I'm going to tell you, 9 out of 10 times, they have less fear and less worry because they know they're getting their Social Security check. They know they're getting that pension for life. And when they pass away, it's probably passing on to the wife. And they know that will sustain their bills. It'll keep up with inflation on average. And then whatever you do with the savings, it's just extra fun money, right? Long-term care planning money, legacy building money. And it is literally two different lives you can live in retirement. And there's the life where you have fear and doubt and no confidence. And then there's the life where you're like, hey, what's the next trip we're planning? The market just went down. Who cares? I got my money in the bank. Let's plan, honey. And we're booking ahead of time. So the people who do not have pensions that have that 401k, you can technically take a little piece of that pie, that 401k, now that you're your own pension manager because you don't have a pension, and we can create that pension plan for you for a couple of bucks. And we can create an interest-bearing account for a couple of bucks. Then we can create a dividend for a couple of bucks. I'm just telling you, there is a world of investments out there, and the stock jock 60-40 is not the solution. The insurance side is just not the solution. You have to have a mixed bag. And this is why you have to work with a retirement planner that focus on holistic planning. It is different, and it's a new world out there, and there's more and more advisors getting on board with it, but not clearly enough. We want to build that pension plan for you because the number one fear in retirement, Randy, is running out of money. And that's because those people, I'm telling you, those people, and it's mainly those people, they don't have a pension. They only have Social Security, and they have their savings, and they don't know how to pull the right amount of money out of what buckets and when. and make sure they don't run out of money. So some people lose because they don't take enough money out because they don't understand the season of life that they're in. And some people take too much and then they're screwed and they run out of money. So there's got to be a happy medium. So call me your happy medium. Okay. Zinnia Wealth is your happy medium where we're going to educate you and show you. And here's the beauty of it. I'm going to throw a bunch of stuff and spaghetti on the wall. Some things are going to stick and you're going to like them. And some things you're like, take that one off the wall. Right. And that's all we're trying to do. Let's educate. Let's figure out your tax plan. Let's figure out your investment plan. Let's build the income plan with sustainability, because that is what the retiree wants. They don't want the jiggliest thing when they walk in, but they want some jiggle. They want the NVIDIAs and the Amazon. They want that excitement, that dopamine, but they also want, okay, I want some safety. How do we do it? I want my checks. I want 4 checks, Charisse. And so that is what we do here. So don't go alone and be your own pension manager and feel like you've been duped because you didn't have a pension. Just know we're here to help you with that part.
Well, some of the anxiety about retirement is all the uncertainty there. And I say this every single show, I think. You build your life on your paycheck that you're getting right now because you know it's there and it's coming in. Now, what's happening in retirement? What is the paycheck? It is Social Security, and what? And that's the and what is what we're talking about here. You've saved your whole life. You've done a great job doing that. You've got a 401k, and maybe you got a Roth and a CD, and maybe you have a property or something. You've got all these things that you've accumulated through your life. Now it needs to pay you in retirement, and Charisse can show you how that's done. Give us a call or go to our website. Here's our website, zinniawealth.com, ZINNIA wealth.com. There's a gold box there. It says complimentary retirement consultation. That's exactly what it is. It's a free meeting where you bring in what you've done for retirement. We analyze that. And boy, when you come back for that second meeting, you're going to see what that exactly will be for you in retirement and how we can help you improve it. Again, zinniawealth.com or 833-368-3680. Again, 833-368-3680. All right, so I'm going to bring you back to school here just a little bit because you're heavily into it. You're doing homework with your kids and such like that. There are words that spell the same thing forward as they spell backward, like a word like radar. Forward, backward, same thing. The word level, same thing. The word civic. The name for that is a palindrome. It says the same thing forward and the same thing backwards, all right? So why do I bring this up? So when we're in retirement planning, Charisse has said in the past, we work the numbers backwards. And instead of how much have you got, what we start with is how much do you need and work from there. Talk to me a little bit about that, Charisse, because that's a key part of income planning.
Yes. And I'll use a great example. Somebody came in last week and I can't usually get the exact answer I'm looking for, or they don't know how to give me the answer. So I work backwards to get the answer because then they can give me the answer better. So it's just this philosophy that we train the advisors that we do here, because it is confusing what we're doing. But when we're talking about working backwards, which I wrote a book on, by the way, that's not edited yet, but it's important to understand why do we need to work backwards in our plan. So we focus on what we need first. So you're going to come into me, tell me your wishes, your dreams, your goals, what you want to leave for a legacy. And when we build that together, I'm trying to figure out your spending plan. And somebody might come in and I said, okay, so based on what you want to spend on travel, based on what you want to, save maybe for 529 plans for your grandkids, based on what you need for your bills, you're telling me we need $7,000 a month. They're like, is that the number? I said, yeah. So I say, let's work backwards. You're about to retire, for example, and you have $100,000 in income, and you're used to contributing $20,000 to your 401k. So when you look at that number, you're thinking, okay, so I only really live on Charisse $80,000. I'm like, no, you live on less. Because a lot of people, when they retire, Randy, they think they need the $100,000 that they're living on when they're working. So now I say, no, not exactly. So how much are you paying for insurance? Oh yeah, that's another, $5,000 a year. I went, okay, so let's take $5,000 a year off of that. Do you have other insurances? Yeah, we got this and that. I said, okay, so now your $100,000 is really, let's say $82,000 a year. And let's take it down all the way down to 80. And I was like, and you pay taxes and we're in this tax bracket. They're like, yeah, we are. So that 80,000 is really only like 62,000. So you say you need 100,000, but you actually only need 62,000 because that is your take home. And they went, Yeah. And they're like, why did I think I needed 100? I was like, because that's what you're making at work. And it's like the mental mind telling you that's what you need.
Well, think about all the money that you save and you pour into your 401ks right now. You're doing that right up till retirement. You won't have to do that. And all of that money goes back in your pocket. So I can see how this number keeps whittling down, down, down. And then what are you going to get for Social Security?
Right.
And then down, 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 and we go again.
Right. And then we look at the liability. So we're taking inventory. So do you have a mortgage? No. Okay. Well, we're always going to have to pay insurance and taxes. Do we have a car payment? Do you buy a car every 5 years and you hold them for 12 years? So we wiggle in that. Do we think in the future we're going to need dentures or do new teeth? Wiggle in that. So we're wiggling little pieces into your plan at different phases of your life based on what our goals are. And remember this, first and foremost, when you retire, you are in your go-go years. The next 10 years is going to be the healthiest time of your life. And you better do the things you never did before your health starts to go down. And I'm not saying in 10 years your health is going to go down, but I'm going to tell you in 10 years,
it happens.
You're going to be a little tighter.
Yeah.
If you can see great now, you might not be able to see as good later. You might have a surgery, but for sure 15 years. So let's make sure when we're building these income plans that we front load our go-go years. And that could be 10 to 15 years. So that's okay, Randy, to take more money early on because we're going to pull back the reins later when you're tired of doing all this stuff. And the goal when we do that is to make sure that we don't run out of money in the future. So we can't have our go-go years for 30 years of retirement because we might run out of money. But there's these different phases. We call it phase 2 of retirement that most people don't even implement in a plan. And for me, that's the most important part that people miss. So it goes back to our last conversation on the last segment about what are advisors doing wrong, that they're not implementing these phases and these segments of your life. And then you're 75 and you're like, I don't want to be driving out of the state anymore. And I'm not going to be flying. I'm going to sell my house out north, or I'm not going to go on cruises. This life changes. And so working backwards in this plan is key. And it starts with taking inventory on what you save, and what you have coming in fixed income. If you have a Social Security and pension, guess what? You're starting out on the right foot because whatever you save from there, it makes it a lot easier to create that plan. So if you don't have a pension, we can help you create that pension, right? And still, create the tax plan alongside of it and the legacy plan that a lot of people forget about. And last but not least, what is the long-term care plan? Because that is the one that can leave the spouse financially destitute if you don't build it in. And when we're building these income plans, I've got to be honest with you. I'm going to show somebody passing away in 5 years, and then we're going to relook at the plan and somebody passing away in 10 years. Do we have enough money saved that we can sustain the spouse still alive in the house? So lots go into our plan, this holistic plan, and we just want to make sure we work backwards and then we can move forwards from there.
That's a good bumper sticker right there, I think. You're listening to Retirement Coffee Talk with Sharice Rivers at Zinnia Wealth. Let's work your numbers. We say this every show. Let's do the math on your retirement, and we'll do that for you at no charge. We call it a complimentary retirement consultation. You come on in, and we'll sit down and talk about what you want to do in retirement, and then we'll work those numbers backwards. How much do you need per month? Then how much have we saved? What does that mean for us on a monthly income check? And how do we bolster that? It's a great conversation. I think you'll enjoy it. You'll learn more about your retirement as you walk in and walk out of that meeting. 833-368-3680 is our number, or you can find us online at zinniawealth.com and click on that button that says Complimentary Retirement Consultation. People, they work into their 70s. They're never going to retire, right? Well, not really. There's an interesting study out right now that tells you what age people actually retire at in this country. I think you'll be shocked. We'll talk about it coming up next on Retirement Coffee Talk. Welcome back to Retirement Coffee Talk with Sharice Rivers at Zinnia Wealth. Online, you can find us at zinniawealth.com. You can also find our podcast on iTunes and Spotify, and wherever you find your podcast, we'll be right there. Just look for us under Retirement Coffee Talk and check that out. It's also on our website, too. Click on the button that says Media, and you can check it out there as well. All right, we've told you many times that people are working into their 70s, and that is true, but it is not the norm. There's a new study from Motley Fool, and get this, half of Americans are retired by the age of 61. How about that? Another 25% are out of the workforce by age 64. Now, you notice that both of these are before the age of 65, which is before Medicare. Now, this brings up, you might think I'm going to retire early. I'm going to go at 63. That really is not early. That's average. But this brings up an interesting planning part of this is because you got to figure out health care for a couple of years before you get to Medicare. So, Sharice, Social Security, Medicare, my money has to last longer. If somebody steps away from work between 60 and 65, this brings in a little extra step when it comes to planning, doesn't it?
It does. And you very well can retire. And I will tell you, more and more people that we see, we're getting them to retire. Really, I mean, this is true between 61 and 63 years old, believe it or not, Randy. Most of these people were not even intending on retiring that early. They were going to wait to age 65 when they got their Medicare. Some were going to work just a little bit longer. And when you start to do and build out this income plan, we're doing it in front of you. We're showing you, okay, if you retire at 64 or 65, when you get your insurance, that's great. You know, if you save more money, but is that really necessary? Do we need to save more money? And so one of the biggest fears is people don't want to retire earlier because they're afraid healthcare is going to just rob them of all their savings. And if you just get the right plan, that is not going to happen, right? Just get a good plan, but it costs money. So let's say you're 61 years old, you're going to wait till 65 to retire, or 64. And I said, okay, so here's a health insurance plan for you. And for the next 4 years, it's going to cost you, $700 a month. Can we afford that extra $700 a month to get you retired early based on what you have saved, based on what you have coming in income, based on your liabilities? And I will tell you, 8 out of 10 times, the answer is yes. But if you don't come in and look at this written plan, you don't come in and test your retirement. We are stress testing your retirement, retiring earlier or a little bit later through different market cycles too, good cycles and bad cycles. What if you retired at 61 and the market crashes for 2 years? Can we still pay that health insurance bill and hold off to 65 based on that? And we put that into the plan because we gotta be sure. We're pretty sure here, right? So that is part of the plan. I will say that healthcare costs, Randy, that is one of the number one reasons why people don't retire early enough. Let's say you can collect Social Security at 62 and you're like, okay, I'll go ahead and collect that, but I'm going to go ahead and keep working. Then you got to worry about this other rule with Social Security and provisional income formulas. And then they take $1 of every $2 out of your Social Security check because you're working, you're collecting at 62. Is that really the right thing to do? And we will do the math on that also. So there's so many things that go into holistic planning, and you got to work with an advisor that actually understands holistic planning, who understands Social Security, who understands Medicare, who doesn't just say, okay, you've got $1 million. Great. You have Social Security between you and your spouse. You got $50,000. You need another $40,000. Okay, that's easy. You saved $1 million. Let's follow this rule called the 4% rule. We'll take $40,000 out a year and you'll be set to sail for the rest of your life in retirement. And zero planning, zero holistic planning. Let's just guess that this is going to work out. I don't think so. And that is why the number one reason in retirement, the biggest fear is running out of money, because that happened. The stock jock just invested the money. They didn't create that holistic plan. They didn't stress test. Well, what if this does happen early on? Or those are so important. No wonder why people fear retiring early, Randy. And during the years of COVID, I remember that year, a lot of people wanted to retire, but they were so scared to retire. And we just came up with that slogan, can you retire now? Mm-hmm. And it was like a hot button. And people were like, yeah, I want to know, can I or can't I? Because a lot of people also took some losses that early on that year. And we were so busy, not just in Ocala and villages in Gainesville, but across the country, people were listening to us and following us and asking for these income plans. Because across the country, there's advisors not doing what we do, which is just insanity to me. But I am mentoring advisors across the country, which is good news, and helping them figure out better ways and systems for their own offices. So I do mentor, which is good, but I can't mentor enough, right? And so we are the go-to company for holistic planning, for income planning, for Medicare insurance and long-term care planning, for tax planning, because you can't go to any advisory firm and get tax planning, but you can here. There's only one of every 10 of us that can do it or are willing to do it. And the ones that were willing to do it, it's more like 1 out of every 50, right? So there's a lot that goes into it. I had a couple come in and they went, how do you remember all this? How do you keep all this in your head? How did you just point out 5 hazards that I've never even heard on radio and you're pointing out in our portfolio and our plan for the future? I said, because I see it. I see every day. I do this every day. I'm not working with a, 26-year-old at 10 o'clock in the morning and a 65-year-old at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. My niche is retirement and income planning and protection strategies and growth strategies. So again, if you guys cannot hear it through my voice, I do love what I do. I do enjoy it. And if I could save retirement plans all over the country, I would.
Well, can you retire early? Well, what is early? Can you retire before 65? Yeah. Well, we got to do some math on that because there's a healthcare component there that we got to figure out. There's a Social Security component there that we want to figure out. There's a lot more to it, but that doesn't mean it can't be done. Let's do the math on your retirement. We do it for you at no charge. We call it a complimentary retirement consultation. Take a look at our website, zinniawealth.com. There's a gold box there. You can click on that, get in touch with us that way, or give us a call. 833-368-3680, and we'll run that complimentary retirement consultation for you. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, what can we learn about your 401k from Will Ferrell? That's coming up next on Retirement Coffee Talk. Welcome back to Retirement Coffee Talk with Sharice Rivers at Zinnia Wealth. Online, it's zinniawealth.com, ZINNIA wealth.com. There's a gold box there. You'll see it. It's right there in front of everybody. Complimentary retirement consultation. If it's time to talk about your retirement, let's just sit down and talk through it. Let's do some math on your retirement. Wouldn't you like to know what your paycheck looks like in retirement? If you have all your investments in place and you don't have a tax plan, well, maybe we need to talk through that, or a legacy plan. We're going to talk through that in this particular part of the show. Give us a look at zinniawealth.com. All right. A lot of us have 401ks as we go into our retirement years, and people think that a 401k is a retirement plan. They call it a 401k plan. Well, that's not necessarily the case. This is Will Ferrell from the movie The House, and he doesn't have any idea what his 401k is.
Right here. It says right here in this account we have $401,000. You missed it.
Nope. That says you have a 401k account. If you liquidate that right now, you'll have, maybe $5,000.
So what happened to the other $396,000?
Boom.
Gotcha.
What is wrong with the two of you?
That is so funny because I just saw that and I'm thinking, he's literally saying the 401k is $401,000.
Exactly.
Like, you gotta love Will Ferrell. This is funny.
All right,
okay.
so he has no idea what a 401k is. All right.
I'm pretty sure most people are a little leveled up from there, Randy.
I hope so, if they know a little bit more than Will does. But okay, so a 401k plan is not your retirement plan.
No,
so
it's not.
If you think you can get through your retirement with just a 401k, Sharice, what are you missing? What are the elements that need to be added in here?
Right. So a 401k isn't a plan. It's just one investment strategy you start with, but it's not what you end with, because it might not end well if you're not strategic with it, because number one, 401ks are loaded in taxes. So the first conversation is, how do we offload that tax bill and navigate those waters? Number one, that is first and foremost as part of our planning phases. But then we got to talk about, besides the tax planning, we have to talk about the actual investment plan. We have to talk about the health plan. We have to talk about the legacy plan, because we talk about widows penalties and kiddos penalty. If one of you pass away, that is a loaded tax bill for the surviving spouse. People don't know it almost doubles in taxes. And then, so you pay taxes your whole life, and then now your surviving spouse pays a bigger tax bill. And then when that spouse passes away, your kids are hit with a 4 times tax bill. And so understanding that the taxes never go away unless we do something about it now and start planning for a tax strategy. A lot of people miss that part, and they miss that this 401k. Here's the most famous one, Randy, that I have the biggest problem with. People have these TSPs, and I don't know why this TSP is a big problem in people's minds. They feel like they have to keep this TSP. And I'm just like, okay, this tax sheltered plan does not a whole lot. It gives you a couple of funds. Why are we so fixated on keeping maybe 10 funds as an option versus when you can move that TSP to an IRA without taxes or penalties and have 30,000 plans available to you with 30,000 options? And people just, you fall in love with what you've had for 30 or 40 years while you're working, and you're so scared to make a move. And don't be scared. Be scared you don't have a plan in place to protect you from that investment plan in that TSP or 401k you've had for all these years. It helped you grow your money. It is your ticking time bomb that is going to cost you so much more money in retirement and for the legacy of the future when you passed away. So we need to focus on that and moving those to IRAs. And then from there, we can keep one IRA that acts just like that TSP, that you can still have your finger on the pulse and do those tradings if you want, if that's what's most important to you. But we have to create the rest of this plan, the holistic plan. And we talk about protecting your house and the four walls and the roof. And you're not protecting yourself with just this 401k. This 401k is just one of those walls of the four walls. We got to work on the other three walls and the roof, right? In case it pours rain and we're pulling money out of one account that has just hemorrhaged because of losses. And now we got a tax burden on our hands. So we want to be forward thinking on taxes. Randy, you think taxes are going down?
I don't think taxes are going down. I think taxes have just continued to go up.
Yes. And if that happens, you got to start thinking, what am I going to do when that tax bill goes up? Because now I have to pull more money out of my account. So what is the plan for that? So a lot of people totally skip that step, Randy. And all these parts to your retirement plan go hand in hand. Even though you're thinking healthcare, what does healthcare have to do with it? I don't know. For the next 30 years in retirement, the average cost for a retiree is about $300,000 in healthcare costs. What is our plan with that? Because you're going to have to take that TSP and that 401k and create a plan for those costs. So what is that plan, right? And then the legacy plan. Do you really want to leave this tax burden? And if you do, I'm fine with it, but let's get a little bit more creative on the investment strategy. And that's when we start building in the income strategies. Because you might say, I want to leave this one bucket as a legacy. I won't touch it unless I have to for long-term care. And then we'll start using the other monies. And Randy, some people come in, they're like, I want to spend my last dollar on my last breath. That's always fun. We'll try to time that. And so we work with all types of people who have all types of thoughts like that. And we even work with the people who are ultra conservative. Sharice, I've got $1 million here. I never want to lose a dime, not to your stinking fees and not to the stock market. And I have a plan for you also, which is very cool. Just know I've heard it all. We take a lot of criticism. We have thick skin. And we have a ton of solutions, and we are more tickled pink when you test us like that, because we're like, we got the answer, buddy. And so again, don't be afraid to move it. Maybe come in for your 401k X-ray or your TSP X-ray, and let's just see if we can land a plane and come together with a vision and a strategy. And if that means leave some money behind because you're married to it, that's okay. But then let's not be afraid to consider other opportunities.
Well, that 401k is very common. Most people come in and that's where they've saved their money. It used to be that your biggest retirement asset was your house. Now it's your 401k. And how is that going to carry you through a 20, 25, 30, 35-year retirement? Well, it's not just peeling money off the top, because that thing is connected to the market. It goes up and it goes down, and you don't want to pull money out of a falling market. So these are really big decisions and conversations that you can have with Sharice and the team at Zinnia Wealth. Give us a look online at zinniawealth.com, ZINNIA wealth.com. Click on that gold box there. It says complimentary retirement consultation, and we'll take it from there. Or you can just reach out to us this way, 833-368-3680, 833-368-3680. All right, so baseball season is underway. Spring training is over with, and so there's a little less baseball in Florida these days. But there's changes constantly in baseball. They have a pitch clock now, and they have new rules that come in every year. Well, this particular year, if you watched it all, there's new uniforms. And not only do people hate the look of the new uniforms, but the players don't like the new uniforms. They say they sweat too much, they carry too much heat. And just recently, one of the Detroit Tigers slid into home and shredded his pants when he did it. So obviously somebody did not stress test the pants before they put them out there. So he needs more testing available here. So the way I put everything into a financial world here. So let's talk stress test here a little bit, Charisse. One of the things that you do is say, okay, somebody comes in and says, all right, I've saved $1 million. I've saved $1.5 million. I'm feeling pretty good about that. And then you say, okay, well, what would happen if we had another 2008? What would happen if we had another COVID? What would happen if taxes went up? Stress testing your portfolio and knowing how much money you can lose, it's a pretty valuable thing to know, isn't it?
It is. I was in an elevator one day and some guy said, so what do you do for a living? And I'm like, I stress test portfolios. He went, huh? It was like foreign to him. I was like, you clearly don't listen to my radio show. It's like, I've never heard an advisor say that. I was like, well, we are a little different because stress testing a portfolio and all dynamics and all types of economies, we can't stress test your portfolio on the last 14 years. The market's done nothing but go straight up with a couple little bumps, but it recovered quickly. And if that's how your portfolios are being stress tested, which I know they are, I don't know how many people you go see and they're like, oh, look at this Monte Carlo. And the Monte Carlo is junk. We don't offer the Monte Carlo. And I did fall short early on in my career because that's all I did. That's how I was trained. That's what I knew. But then reality kicked in. I'm like, how am I stress testing this? And there's not a 2008 crash in here. I'm like, is that even fair? And it's not, because it looks like you're going to survive retirement 100% with no major jiggle in the portfolio. And there's no plan showing, hey, I just derailed my portfolio by 200 grand because my spouse went into nursing home for 3 years. Or, hey, inflation isn't an average of 3% for the last, 20 to 30 years. It's actually 4%, maybe 5%. So we stress test interest rate environments. We stress test inflationary environments. We stress test the long-term care and healthcare world you're about to go into. And we also have to stress test, if you're not retiring for 5 to 10 years, what if you get laid off sooner than later? Or what if a spouse gets ill and you have to retire from work to take care of your spouse? There are so many reasons to stress test a portfolio for all these reasons. And whether you're 55 or 65 or 75, it's going to be a little bit different of a stress test. And it's going to be a little bit different of an income strategy, believe it or not. It's not cookie cutter. But if you don't do this, how are you going to know if you're going to survive when these things happen? Because I'm going to guarantee you one thing, stuff is going to happen and you're not going to expect it. And I watched so many people go through it. I know what those hazards are. And one of the biggest hazards is a darn tax plan. Then the next hazard is the tax plan to your kiddos, not just your widow and widowers. So we're stress testing the tax plan. In 10 years, if taxes are here, we're having to pull more money out here. What does it look like? Now somebody's passed away, taxes are double. Now we got to put more income into the plan. Literally, I know people are rolling their heads back like, what? I'm scared to death now that Charisse has said all this, but don't be scared. Take initiative. Don't put your head in the sand and just ignore me. Make time and really consider it. You make time to go on trips. You make time to sit there and plan your trips and your events and your cruises. Make time to make sure you can always book those trips, because you don't in the final hour want to say, woulda, coulda, shoulda, it's too late 10 years later, right? So work on that plan. Let us stress test your portfolio. This is why people come to us. And this is one of the most fun that we have in our first appointments, because when you walk out of your first appointment, you're going to be like, uh-oh, we got a problem, Houston. Or when you walk out, you're going to be like, hey, I'm teed up. We're doing pretty well, and that's the important part. You need to have confidence. And if you don't get that second opinion, how are you going to know?
Charisse says you were mentioning 10 years. Something's actually happened in the last couple of years, because I don't care what you've got, if it's Fidelity or it's Vanguard or it's John Hancock or wherever your money is. When you look at your 401k and you look at the funds that are in there, when you try to figure out what you want to put in there, it'll look back 3 years, it'll look back 5 years, and it'll look back 10 years. Well, we are now 16 years past 2008. And those numbers are no longer figured in to the performance of that index fund or that bond fund or whatever fund you're going to go into. So you're not seeing what that fund does under really stressful markets. You're going to see what happened during COVID. You're going to see what happened in 2022 when it went down as well. But you're not going to see that huge dip figured into that math when you go into that index fund. And Charisse, I think that's important because unless we know what our money does when the market goes down 30, 40, 50%, we're really not going to know the whole picture, are we?
We're not. And it will derail your portfolio if you think you're going to be clicking at an average of 7% over the next 30 years, because that's what the last 10 to 15 years did, right? And so make sure you know who's running your stuff. Make sure you know if they even know anything. Make sure they've been in the industry for at least 15 years. Somebody been in the industry for 15 years probably knows some stuff. Somebody's been in the industry for 5 years has still so much to learn. Trust me. I remember when I was 5 years old in this business. I wasn't even close. Right? So stress testing is important.
You live, you learn. Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
Let's live and learn and have less failure in the future.
Like I say, when you walk onto the plane, it's very comforting to see that pilot's got a little gray hair and a lot of stripes. That means he's been there before. He or she has been there before. And Charisse has definitely been there before. Give us a look and let's stress test your portfolio. If you wonder how your money does in crazy market situations, let's run those tests. We can do that for you. Find us online at zinniawealth.com, ZINNIA wealth.com. There's a gold box there. It says Complimentary Retirement Consultation. Click on that. You'll be on your way. Or you can just bypass all that and just give us a call. 833-368-3680. 833-368-3680. Take a break. Come right back with more of Retirement Coffee Talk. Welcome back to Retirement Coffee Talk with Charisse Rivers at Zinnia Wealth. Online, it's zinniawealth.com, ZINNIA wealth.com. When you get to our website, make sure you tool around a little bit. You can hit events. That opens up a calendar, and we have a number of opportunities, educational opportunities we call Zinnia U, and we do those in Ocala, at the Villages, at Lecanto, in Gainesville. We go all over the place, helping people understand what they're in for when it comes to retirement. All of that is on the website. You can also check out useful guides. There's an educational tab there, too, and there's a drop-down that says useful guides. Click on that. There's tons of stuff that you can download about Social Security and Medicare and 401ks, pensions, lots of stuff there for you. Just tool around a little bit. I think you're going to have some great information you can pick up on our website, zinniawealth.com. All right, so one of the things that we talked about on the show today was people don't know how much they need as they go into retirement. But we're going to give you a number here, all right? This is just a figure. Let's say, for instance, you figure out that you can do retirement on $50,000 a year. Not a crazy number, okay? And how much does that mean you need to save? Okay, so if you took 4% of your money each year, you'd need around $1 million, $1.2 million, somewhere right in there. So that's what you would need to save to get $50,000. Now, if you were to use a different strategy, instead of peeling money off the top, you could use an annuity. And in order to get $50,000 out of an annuity, you would only have to save $750,000. That's considerable. So this is a way where you could actually save less and get more. And Charisse, as we talk about the ups and the downs of annuities, and certainly we can talk through that, I never really thought about that before. You can get more per month on less saved. Interesting.
Yes. So this is where we've kind of talked in the past, not too much, where you can buy income. The older you get, the income gets cheaper, right? To get. And so we used to have a guide on this a long, long time ago. We don't use it anymore, but I'm glad you're bringing it up. Because let's say you did save $1.2 million and you said, okay, I'm going to put it all in the stock market. We're going to follow the 4% rule. We're going to get our $50,000 a year. I mean, that's just like having a 401k plan and doing nothing and not adding a holistic plan to it. What if you could still get that, $50,000 a year? You park $750,000 into this income with the annuity companies, and then you still have the remaining to go put in the stock market and be as risky as you want and let those double and triple without you having fear of running out of money. And then later on you have more dollars. That is an absolute strategy. I do think $750,000 in one annuity is a lot, just so you all know. We like to be balanced. We like to be diversified. So we do have to be cautious there, but it's just a great example because in our first segment earlier on today, we talked about pension planning and why people who have pensions feel so much more secure, so much more confident in retirement is because that pension is an annuity. It's a different kind of annuity. I call it an old school annuity, but it's reliable and sturdier than ever, right? It's not going to go away and you're going to get that income for life. Those people who get Social Security and pension, they're booking their trips, Randy, even when the stock market's going down, because they know that pension and Social Security covers the bills. And a lot of people, they're booking their trips on that. And any money that they saved in their 401k, if it's going down in the stock market, they're not too worried about it because they're like, I got my stuff covered and I'm still able to book my trips. And they feel bad for their neighbors that can't book trips for the next 5 to 7 years because they didn't have the pension. But the pension gives you ease. And that employer pension is an immediate annuity. I'm not telling you to roll your money to an IRA and let's put all your money into an immediate annuity with a local financial advisor. I'm saying maybe we need to consider rolling the 401k to an IRA. And if you got 1.2 million, maybe you put 300,000 into an income annuity that provides that same exact pension. So, but Randy, people don't know that's available to them. And there's something else I need to know. The private pension, when you come to insurance agents or financial advisors, they, in my opinion, are a lot better than the pensions at your employer's office. And the reason is your employer office, when you take that income for life, nothing gets passed on to your kids. The newer evolved private pensions you get today, when you roll it over to the advisor, that principle is still there. If you pass away while you're taking this income, that principle is still growing with growth, right? Invested in the S&P 500. And when you pass away, whatever's left over minus what you took out goes to your beneficiaries. And you can get this same amount of guaranteed income you would have got at your employer's office versus coming here. So it's the same, but it's actually a little bit better. So, and now you can work on a tax strategy because you don't have all your eggs into that annuity. You have some. So you have your Social Security check. Maybe we build in that contractual agreement for an income plan, that guaranteed pension with that annuity company. And we just put enough in there to cover all your bills so that no matter what happens with the stock market money or the other monies, well, you know your bills are always going to be covered. And then the other assets we can put into a dividend portfolio, we can put into a growth portfolio, we can look at structured notes, we can dump some in some CDs, we can have some treasuries, and we can work on that cash management plan so that now you can say, okay, now for the next 5 years, I've got this bucket. I'm going to take an extra $25,000 a year to do trips on that, right? So then it's not affected by the stock market. So we have to remember that there's a lot of noise out there on annuities. And yes, Fisher is right. There are really, really bad annuities, right, out there. And we're not offering those. We're offering the ones that have liquidity because a lot of people think, annuities, there's no liquidity. When I die, nothing gets passed on. Get it out of your heads. Those are old school. I don't even know advisors who even offer those anymore. But there are some bad annuities that are high in fees, that have a stock market roller coaster, that are a problem child, right? And we're not offering those. We're talking about the fixed ones, the safe ones, the ones you can invest in the market without the losses, the ones without any fees, the ones that are liquid, and some of the ones that give you guaranteed income for life. And I'm going to tell you that we offer one of the highest income for life annuities in the country. We don't shop based because a company is going to give us a higher commission. We shop on the number one best product in the country, period, point blank. Some people shop on, I'm going to get a 2% more commission if I offer this, and it's a lower income. So you also have to work with that fiduciary advisor that is really, truly looking out for your best interest and really trying to create this dynamic income plan so that we can also have money in the stock market, but then button up the income needs that you need every month for the rest of your life. So don't be afraid of it. Don't fall in love with it. Don't disregard it. Let's figure out, is it a plan? Do you need it or do you not need it? And for me personally, I would say 2 out of every 10 people I personally sit down with don't need that private pension plan. Now, our other advisors, I will find out that 5 of every 10 people they sit with do. And so it depends on how much you've saved and liabilities, et cetera, right? So just know it's not a one size fits all. And we're juggling like crazy to always find the absolute very best, because as a fiduciary in this industry, that is our darn jobs for you.
Well, as you sit down with Charisse or any financial advisor, you are going to ask this question: how am I going to get paid? All right. So if they look at you and say Social Security and whatever you've got in your 401k, that's not a complete answer. I mean, look at the things that Charisse has listed off here: pensions, Social Security, dividend-paying stocks, structured notes, CDs, treasuries, part-time work, real estate, income annuities. There's a bunch there that I'll bet you didn't even consider. And these are things that you can explore with Charisse and find out how they might work for you to get you more income in your retirement years. We talk about it all the time. In real estate, it's location, location, location. In retirement, it's income, income, income. Where is your income coming from, and how much is it when you retire? Let's do those numbers. ZinniaWealth.com is our website. You can start right there. Hit the gold box. It says complimentary retirement consultation. Give us a call, 833-368-3680. Again, 833-368-3680, and we'll get to work on it for you. Charisse, that is all the time we have on this one. I'm going to give you the last word.
All right. Thanks so much. Hey, you guys, thank you so much for listening. The weather's beautiful and you could be doing other things. And if you are and you just caught us for a few minutes, go to our podcast, Retirement Coffee Talk, on all the outlets: YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, you name it. You can find us there, and tune into what we're saying each and every week, and do it on your time when you're on a lawnmower or when you're driving or when you're having dinner. Just kidding. Don't not do it during dinner. You're going to be in a lot of trouble. And usual, thank you guys so much. Live by design and not by default, and we'll see you here next week.
This has been Retirement Coffee Talk. To find out more about how the strategies we've discussed on this program can build the retirement you've been wanting, call Zinnia Wealth at 352-368-3680 or visit us online at zinniawealth.com.
Charisse Rivers is an investment advisor representative of Zinnia Wealth Advisory, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments can fluctuate and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Charisse Rivers is licensed in your state, please contact their office. Zinnia Wealth Advisory, LLC is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Any client experiences discussed during this show are unique to that client. They are not meant to imply or suggest you will experience the same results. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Charisse Rivers, NPN Insurance License Number 8718011.